Hey, what's up, everybody? CG here with CG Reviews. I know, right? Like, what did you guys do to deserve such a fantabulous time as that I'm about to offer you, right? Well, again, we're going to have a good time. I just like doing these things because, heck, they're a lot of fun. But I also want to say, if you really enjoy the content, maybe consider liking it and stuff like that. Again, I want to apologize for missing out on Xbox Nation yesterday. Some things came up, and it was a little bit difficult to be able to do that. But here I am today, kind of making it up for it, and hopefully you guys are going to enjoy it and have a good time. You know, it's not going to be a super long video or anything like that, but I did want to kind of just touch base and sort of make sure that everybody was, doing good, just having a good time. Again, I always have a good time with these. So there's actually quite a bit of news. This is why I wanted to do another video right now, for the simple fact that, and as you guys all get in here, please hit the like button, share it out. I see a lot of good people in the chat and stuff like that. Like I said, as you guys get up, what's up, TLR90 Snakes 9 Lives, everybody. I appreciate it. Hellspawn, PlayStation, everybody that's here, man. I appreciate it. Please share out the video, like it, all that kind of good stuff. With that being said, I kind of want to jump into some of the topics that I wanted to talk about. I know a lot of people are like, hey, CG, you should really show that same energy for PlayStation because, you know, they're losing a lot of members. They're laying off a lot of people. Blah, 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 blah. And I get it, right? Here's the first thing I want to say. It's never fun or a good time when people are losing their jobs when it comes to any industry, particularly the gaming industry. So, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it sucks when that happens, and I am sorry that there were some layoffs over PlayStation. We actually don't really know the extent or anything like that over there, and I do think it was definitely sort of weird to announce a lot of these layoffs, in particular at a particular time, as when you were announcing PS5 stuff, and I think that part of that could have been just them trying to get, trying to get something out of the way in terms of, you know, you're not going to be focused on the bad. Most people are going to be focused on the good. Like, nobody's going to be talking about layoffs and stuff like that because they're going to be talking about, oh, wow, did you hear about the PS5? It's this or that or the other thing. And I think that was kind of Sony's idea, which if that was the idea, maybe they didn't do it or it was coincidence. But if the idea was to, like, take some heat off of, off those layoffs by announcing PS5 stuff, that's kind of lame in my opinion and just bad form. But again, we don't really know the extent of any of this stuff to begin with, so I guess we'll have to like wait and see how it is. It is unfortunate. Again, I stated this earlier, but it's not a rumor or anything like that. The beginning of October is usually the start of a new quarter for Japanese companies when they do things. So that could be something that we're seeing here. And hey, you know, I'm not trying to like make excuses for them. I think it's terrible when people lose their jobs. But again, restructuring and stuff like that is very commonplace. And hey, at least good guy Microsoft offered them something, right? They said Aaron Greenberg was like, hey, we're hiring. So you got that to look forward to. You know what I mean? Maybe there's going to be some jobs trading places or something like that. And then, of course, we had a pretty interesting situation with Mike Ibarra leaving Microsoft. Now, Mike Ibarra was the main guy behind backwards compatibility and doing those type of things for Xbox. Not only that, but he was a constant source of information and things like that when it came to actually interacting with Xbox fans, right? So he was always constantly doing that kind of stuff, talking to Xbox fans, you know, hyping people up and stuff. So I have to say, you know, it is a little bit sad to see him go. A lot of people go, oh, well, you didn't like the guy anyway. Like, here's the thing. I interviewed the guy a couple times. I actually do like Mike, and you can disagree with somebody and still like them, right? Like, I've never understood anybody who thinks otherwise. So yeah, I actually do like Mike and wish him the best. A lot of people are assuming that he might go to Stadia or something like that. I don't know. Like, that's very not job security in my opinion. If you're like working for Microsoft and then you go work for Stadia, that to me is not a good move. That, even as bad as Microsoft seems to be doing with Xbox, I would not want to work for Stadia because I just do not think that that's something that's going to, be able to do something long term. Especially, I don't know if you guys heard this, but they had some people talking about, they had some people talking about, well, within 2 years, Stadia is going to be able to predict your movements and do it for you, right? And that really came across as bad, in my opinion, because, you know what I mean? Like, who wants to just have the gameplay? I know there's going to be jokes about me in here, but who wants to have the gameplay for you, right? Like, if you're playing a Twitch shooter or something like that, how can they successfully guess what you're going to do? So that was always kind of my idea. Like, that doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't think a lot of people are going to like hearing that, and there was quite a bit of like negative feedback for that. So, you know, I think it's one of those things that we'll probably continue to see people talking up, but I don't imagine Stadia or these type of things being like the mainstream or anything like that long term. We'll have to see how it works out. You know, like I said, things are changing, times are changing. It's going to be interesting to see how that kind of works out. Hey, everybody that's joining me, please hit the like button. I appreciate it. Hit the share it out, all that kind of stuff. Nine Live says, nah, Major Nelson interacts more with the fans. No, Major Nelson doesn't respond to anybody. Plus, he's not in the know when it comes to the tech side of things or anything like that. So I've never had Major Nelson respond to me. He doesn't go around and do podcasts. From what I understand, he's not really approachable when you see him in public and things like that, from people that I know that have like been around him and met him. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying he's not the same. It's not the same situation as a Mike Ibarra, who has been on a podcast with me a couple of times. You know, he stops in the chats in the podcast. He does all these giveaways. I know Major Nelson does the one on the Free Code Fridays or whatever, but at the end of the day, he's not that constant source of information and that constant back and forth the way that others are. You know what I'm saying? So I think that, you know, it's going to be interesting to see who Microsoft can actually get to replace this guy. And again, I wish him well. So he's obviously on to some other quote-unquote adventure. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly how that plays out for him. I hope that it plays out extremely well for him because, you know, I do wish him well, and I think that he's probably going to do something in the gaming industry. I also thought it was interesting that he used to stream on Mixer and stuff, and now he's got like Twitch in his in his setup. So yeah, I thought that was very interesting as well. And not only is that, but let's just be honest, man. I think that Mixer is a bit of a mess compared to Twitch, so you can't really blame Mike for that. But he did bleed green. It was very interesting to see how he was really kind of reacting to a lot of things in terms of gaming, you know, and I gotta say, I really do enjoy what Mike would bring to the table and things like that. So hopefully we continue to see some pretty nice things from him in the future. And, you know, I'm gonna guess that we're gonna see something sooner rather than later in terms of where he's going to end up going. So you have to wonder just exactly what's going to go on there. And, you know, it's always kind of interesting. And again, you had the thing with Sean Layden where he left or whatever, and where is he going to end up going? I don't really know, but I just think that it's going to be interesting. Hold on. Nine Live says, I agree, Mike is a big loss, but Layden is a bigger one. Listen, I don't know if I agree with that. I think I went over this yesterday, right? I think that the Sean Layden loss is a big deal. I'm not trying to downplay that, but he is like a head. He's like a suit. He wasn't like an interactive type person on Twitter and stuff like that. So and he would just do the company events and things. I'm not sure that's on the same level. We'll have to see how that works out. If it, you know, there's a lot of changes going on in gaming in general, but obviously as well as PlayStation. Okay, so we see that there's these PlayStation changes that are happening for everybody. You know, if this is to be true, which I linked some of this below so you can check it out. You know, it's going to be interesting to see what the PS5 does because, you know, again, if they have all these layoffs, which I'm reading right now, the one that I kind of linked here, Sony Interactive Entertainment put dozens of European staff up for redundancy on Tuesday, the same day it announced plans for the PlayStation 5. This is according to multiple reports with knowledge of the situation. American PlayStation directors visited Sony Interactive Entertainment Europe in London on Tuesday to announce the restructure of several divisions, including marketing and PR. Affected employees were given notice and meetings were set for those required to re-interview for their jobs. There are also a number of layoffs in the U.S.-based creative services team, with one affected employee writing on Twitter, "I hate that this is going to be drowned out by the PS5 announcement." So, again, that was something I was alluding to earlier, that the PS5 announcement was actually something that could potentially drown out sort of this bad news or whatever. PlayStation North America's Sony's interactive entertainment has seen its influence grow significantly in the past year as the platform holder moved further towards a central globalized structure. So basically what happens, if I'm reading into this right, is the different branches of Sony, like Sony Japan, Sony Europe, Sony America, or PlayStation Europe, America, Japan, like these different things were kind of would do things of their own accord. Okay, they would set their own budgets, do their own marketing, do their own thing, right? So now it looks like they're going to do a much more kind of organized situation with that. So basically, what you're going to see is like, and even in this article, it kind of mentions how the influence has become strong that European employees were not even aware of the U.S.'s decision to announce PlayStation 5 details to the public. Similarly, PlayStation State-of-Play live streams are run out of the U.S., and the European division is unaware of the content. The centralization has been a significant number of layoffs across Europe in the past 12 months, culminating in this week's news as well, while there are some dissatisfied staff members, obviously. So a number of these people told VGC that they were particularly disappointed that Sony had decided to tell them they were facing losing their jobs at the same time as publishing the latest PS5 details. So this is going to be very interesting to see how this kind of works out, because I know this is something that might get just a little bit glossed over, and that's unfortunate. What's up? JD Gamer says Sean Layden was the guy protecting the idea that everything should be centered around the console. Ryan believes that future is in the cloud. Well, listen, Ryan hasn't said anything particularly about not supporting the console. You know, they're obviously going to very much support their console, and I think that's something important. As you guys come in, please hit the like button. I would love to get up over 100 likes. Again, I'm making up for Xbox Nation by doing another short show today to try to just talk about some of this stuff that I was going to talk about yesterday. So anyway, yeah, it's always disappointing when people get laid off in these situations. But here's what basically happened. Previously, PlayStation, and this is exactly what I was reading or telling you guys, and I'll read you what the article says about it because it kind of backs up what I was saying. Previously, PlayStation's regional arms were able to act autonomously, signing their own games and setting their own marketing budgets. This allowed the company to specifically cater to its audiences. PlayStation Move was marketed more heavily in Europe, for example, while Drive Club wasn't pushed heavily in the US. This had the downside of creating a messy overall operation, which some publishers are said to have been frustrated with in the past. So it does look like Sony is trying to fix some of their lingering issues, like just in time for the PlayStation 5, and that could be something that's really good for them. Now, is it, you know, all sunshine and rainbows? No, I don't think so. It's going to be, like I said, very, very interesting to see how they kind of come out and play this. I'm very interested to see who they're going to bring out on the stage to talk to people. Is it going to be Jim Ryan now? Is it going to be Yoshida? Like, who are they going to get to come out there and kind of handle this kind of stuff? And what kind of impact will that have long term? Like, that's the stuff that I kind of worry about. But for people that are like, I think the problem is a lot of this is Xbox fans want there to be a problem with Sony because there's been so many problems with Xbox this generation, which is really kind of sad if you think about it, right? Like, and I'm not trying to like make fun of anybody or anything like that, but that's just, I mean, to me, kind of petty and sad if you just really think about it, because, you know, we don't need any of these companies to go out of business or anything like that. We need these companies to compete and to have high level of competition and high level of non-complacency. And so it does look like, at least with Jim Ryan, he is like that old school type of trooper that doesn't believe in playing nice and wants to do well for his own brand. So I think that's exactly what you need, and that could be a bit of a setback for Microsoft if you really think about it, because they were working kind of well with Sean Layden and they were friendly and all that kind of stuff. But it does look like, at least from what we've seen here, that it's quite possible that Sean Layden was actually laid off as opposed to leaving on his own volition. Because if you look at it, Mike Ibarra looks like he left on his own volition, but who knows if that's actually the case or whatever. He wanted to move on. 20 years is an incredibly long time to be at one particular job. So, we'll see how that works out at the end of the day. But it is interesting, very interesting to see so many different things happening right before the start of next generation. Like, at what point did people start going, hey, this is very interesting, and so, yeah, like that to me is just very, very interesting news indeed. I'm going to answer some more questions here. Hold on. JD Gamer says, oh, yes, he did. He really thinks that everyone should be able to play PlayStation games whether they have a PlayStation or not. That's not new, though, man. They were doing that at the beginning of this generation. You could have played PlayStation games on a Samsung TV or your Vita. Like, that doesn't matter to me. Again, like, you're missing the point with my complaints with Microsoft, right? I don't care. Like, I knew that Sony was going to be streaming because I have a friend who is a PlayStation MVP who is actually testing that kind of stuff. So I knew about this. I actually reported on this over a year ago that they were going to do this. It doesn't really bother me. The problem with Microsoft is they don't have any games to begin with, and their focus is on streaming mostly, whereas Sony's focus as a hardware company is on selling and making games to sell their hardware, right? You can do the other stuff too. I'm fine with that because it doesn't affect me because I'm not going to use it anyway. Like, I didn't use PlayStation Now. I'm not going to use Stadia. So that stuff really doesn't affect me. xCloud doesn't affect me at the least. I don't care about it. Now, the thing that does affect me is the lack of quality games on Microsoft's part, right? So that's the part that bugs me. I couldn't care less. Now, the PC thing, I do feel like to release your games day and date like that is very sort of disrespectful. It really doesn't do well. You got people spending all this money and you're not giving them anything different. You're actually making them pay for online. So I do feel like that is a little bit of a different situation there. But again, I just think that those are apples to oranges, to be honest with you, because Sony, their lifeblood is PlayStation and they need to sell a PlayStation, right? So maybe eventually one day they'll do day and date on PS Now, but I don't see that happening anytime super soon. And as long as they have this piece of hardware they have to sell, I see them really kind of taking it. I could just tell you this, as a consumer, you can just sit back and say, as a consumer, right? You're a console consumer. You have to say that you are more happy with how Sony goes after quote unquote console gamers with their stuff as opposed to the way Microsoft goes after console gamers with their stuff. Microsoft, they do entire inside Xboxes without even saying Xbox or mentioning the console. They talk about Game Pass and PC Game Pass. The last inside Xbox where they did the missed high five or whatever, they did PC Game Pass games, no console games, none whatsoever. They talked about xCloud, they talked about some other games, they talked about PC Game Pass. Like, that's the type of like world that Microsoft lives in. And if you're okay with that, hey, that's cool. I'm just saying, for me personally, I would have much rather have a focus still on that console. Simply put, man, I'm a console gamer. I'm not saying you can't do the other stuff too, but why leave out console when console is what you're known for? Right? Like, that was always my kind of point of view. So hopefully you understand what I'm saying. I'm not knocking the streaming. Like, that's not my thing. I'm never going to be into that. So that's not my bag. But if people like to do that, then more power to them. It's just not going to be something that I do. Right? And so, like I said, if that's what you want, then that's fine. And I don't really have a problem with the streaming. I'm just saying, for me personally, I'm not about the streaming and stuff like that. I just want to play my games on a console, and I want the games to be great. So that's where kind of the difference comes from me to a lot of other people and things like that. So, hey, we got almost 250 in here. Please hit the like button, share it out. I'd appreciate it. JD says, honestly, we know they will have quality games and they're coming soon. A la 1 to 3 for most of their games. How do we know they're going to have quality games, though, JD? Like, have you seen the future? Like, I don't know the future, but I can tell you, going on the past, with what some of these studios have done before Microsoft bought them, that don't exactly scream quality or confidence to me. Like Compulsion Games, In Exile, Undead Labs, these teams don't scream quality to me. Like, there's nothing just because Microsoft owns them now and they have more money doesn't necessarily mean they're gonna be quality. Look, Microsoft is investing in Ninja Theory, and Bleeding Edge is their game, right? But that game doesn't look quality at all to me, right? It just looks like another another multiplayer only game that's going to be loaded with microtransactions and things like that. So again, I think it's one of those things, that's interesting. Like it's somewhat subjective, but there is actually a way to tell quality and things like that. So it's going to be fun to see how that kind of works out. Hold on, let me see. Yeah, power didn't help Xbox at all. Hold on, let me see. Failed Pyromancer says, I tried remote play off my tablet. It's trash. Listen, the remote play stuff I've always thought was a little bit weird, because I know people that tried to do remote play from Xbox to their PC, and I've heard even like within that same parameter, like in the same room, like it works really badly. So I'm very dubious of this whole remote play, and like I don't understand, like if you're a console gamer, you play games at home or whatever, I get that, but I'll never understand the type of person that's like, oh, you know what, I'm gaming, and I want a game when I go do this or when I go do that. Like I just have not seen that request from many people, and so it's interesting. And I realized that Nintendo Switch is kind of catering to that type of person, but again, like you have a native piece of hardware that plays games like that. So I think that that's something that people have to keep in mind as well. Just going forward. And I do think at the end of the day that Microsoft will have some good games. I'm not saying they're never going to have good games, JD. By the way, I'm not stupid enough to say that. I think it's quite obvious that they could have some really good games in the future. I'm just saying, are they going to have really great AAA games that aren't Halo, Gears, and Forza? Because I think people are a little bit fed up with those games as a whole. But again, I do think that it really just comes down to a lot of times preference and stuff like that. They obviously listen. Phil knows that they've stunk it up this generation, right? Like Phil knows it, and he's mentioned it. Will they be able to fix that? We'll have to see. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not 100% sold on anything that they're doing, and again, for me to go, well, wait till E3 seems a little bit disingenuous. I don't think that we should have to wait till E3 to find out if we're getting any games or what type of games. And if you're talking 3 or 4 years from now, that's 2023, dude. That's 2023, 2024. That's the middle of next generation before we get something new. So yeah, hopefully we can get something new before that point. I would like to see it anyway. It's easy to go, hey, look, we're buying these studios, but it's harder to take a real good look at those studios and go, these studios are okay, but we would really like to see something come from a little bit more or whatever. So it'd be interesting. Do you see PlayStation turning into an app? I see PlayStation possibly doing being a platform, but I don't see that happening in the next generation for sure. Let's see. Salty says, should I invest in an Xbox X now or just wait? I would highly not recommend an Xbox One X. Those things are still $500. I mean, if you could pick one up for $300, maybe consider go ahead and doing that. But I would just say for $500, it's definitely not worth it. Do not get one because you literally, there's some multi-plats and stuff that are coming out that should be fun, but you definitely don't need an X to play those. And at the end of the day, Microsoft has 0 AAA exclusives remaining for the rest of this generation. So yeah, I think that I would avoid that for now, just for the simple fact that there's absolutely nothing, and there's not even a big backlog of stuff where I can go, yeah, pick up an X, because there's this huge backlog of Xbox exclusives. Literally, you have Gears, Forza, Halo, and that's about it. I mean, honestly, if just being totally honest. So I would totally say avoid getting an X unless you can pick one up for extremely cheap. Let's see. True Witty says, hey, Phil Spencer's not the man for the job. He isn't a fighter. Let's see. Yeah, I would agree with that. I agree 100%. So, hold on. Joshua says, all you Xbox fans love being nickel and dimed by Phil Spencer. He gives you crappy games on your service that are not AAA games that nobody asked for, which is very sad. Yeah, I wish I would have loved to seen. I would have loved to seen something that people actually wanted. We're over 300 people. Please hit the like button. I would appreciate it. Hold on. Obscura Art says, if the 46 million number for Xbox One is real, sales slowed after the Xbox One X dropped. The power narrative is BS. It's all about games. I brought this up yesterday, and this is a great point, so I'm gonna talk about this, okay? The Xbox One started off really well in sales, despite being $100 more and all this kind of stuff. It had some good games, right? And people kind of liked the snap features and some of the, as much hate as it got, a lot of people really liked those features and stuff. I'm one of them. You know, you had some really good hits. You had Titanfall, Sunset Overdrive. They announced Quantum Break. You had Killer Instinct. They announced a new Halo. You had Forzas. You had a lot of good stuff. The problem is, their last announced numbers was 14.5 million. So it's not out of the realm of possibility to say within the first 3 years they were close to 30 million consoles, which is really, really good, right? So you have almost 30 million consoles, and now you're at 46. That means that at the end of the day, they started off selling possibly 30 million over the first few years, and then over the last few, they've only sold 15, 16 million. And that's a direct correlation to the drop-off of quality and quantity of AAA exclusive titles. You can't deny this. There is no fear-mongering with this statement. This is the facts. Xbox sales have tremendously slowed down, while Sony and Nintendo's haven't. Well, obviously Nintendo has that, the new hottest, latest thing, so people are really enamored with it. But I'm just going to say that, even PlayStation, that thing's going to end up with, PlayStation 4 is going to end up over 120 million units sold by the time the PS5 drops. And the Xbox One will probably be at 50 million. So you're going to have like a 70 million gap there that's incredibly large, right? That's a huge gap. Now, that there is some recovery there that Microsoft was able to do. But again, what it comes down to now, and I've always mentioned this, why is nobody buying Xbox One right now? Xbox has supposedly all this amazing stuff going for it, right? They have the least expensive console with the S, right? You can pick that thing up for $200, so they have the least expensive. They have the most powerful console with the X, okay? So there's no power problems or anything like that. They've got the only true 4K console, supposedly, right? So they've got that taken care of. They have Xbox Game Pass, where you can play all these amazing games for $1 if you want to. All these, even multiplats, Outer Worlds, Metro, Tomb Raider. There's all these games that you can play for $1. So they got that. They have EA Access. They have game gifting. They have Elite controllers. They have Xbox Live Ultimate Game Pass. They have Play Anywhere. So they have all these features and upon features and great hardware and all this other stuff. Backwards compatibility with Xbox and Xbox 360. They give away more free games than Sony does every month with Xbox Live Gold as opposed to PlayStation Now. So all this stuff, crossplay. They started this whole crossplay initiative, right? All this stuff should really help Xbox. But what happened? Okay? Like, what happened? Well, we're seeing what happened, right? And that fact is that people wanted big exclusives. The only reason not to have it is the lack of exclusives. The Don, what's up, man? Kiss that ring. He says, I'm guessing Mike is moving to Amazon. That would be interesting. Do you think they have some kind of gaming thing set up that's not cloud situated, or do you think they actually have I don't know, because there seem to be some layoffs over there at Amazon regarding the cloud and stuff, like regarding some of their studios and stuff recently. So it'll be interesting. So, let me see. If you pay, well, listen, killer dude, if you pay $150 to $200 for a controller, you're dumb. I don't think that. I think that it's fine if you do that, because this is something that you're going to be able to take with you and stuff. Like, I have 2 Elite controllers. One of them I paid full price for. The other one I got basically for free through Microsoft Rewards. I didn't realize I had a ton of rewards saved up. But yeah, listen, it's really cool. Like, people, if you're a real hardcore gamer, then I think it's fine. I think the average person doesn't really want to do that. Mooey says Halo Infinite might do a little better, but it's just another Halo game. They have to prove that Halo is back. They have to prove that Halo is going to be something amazing again. Okay, I want to believe that Halo is amazing again, and it is going to be amazing. The problem is that actually something that's capable of happening with with their current team. Like, they're no Bungie. I've liked some of the Halo games that we've seen. Like, for instance, I really liked Halo 4's single player, and I liked Halo 5's multiplayer. I'm more of a single player Halo player, though. So I'm a little bit disappointed with the way, or extremely disappointed with the way the single player went with Halo 5, and I'm hoping that they can fix that with Halo Infinite. Do I have faith that they can do that? I don't know. There's so much change going on within 343. They've had so much kind of downtime or whatever, and so many people leaving. It's really hard to sort of imagine that the game could be good, but it might be really good. Like, listen, when I say it be good, I think Halo 5 is a really good first-person shooter. I just think it's a bad Halo game, okay? Like, as to what Halo is, and that's my opinion, of course, but I do think that 343 is aware, at least, of where they messed up and how they can maybe fix some of these problems going forward, because they definitely need to sort of take care of these problems and make sure that everything is kind of coming together in such a way that fans are responsive to it, because I feel like Halo has been so dynamic, and so, Halo is Xbox. Like, you don't want to ruin that franchise, and I feel like the lack of buffer and the lack of quality. Look, Master Chief Collection really hit a new low for Halo. You had so many problems with it, and then, of course, the Halo 5 issues where Microsoft totally lied in the marketing, claiming that, hey, it's going to be, it's going to be Master Chief versus Locke, and it's this or that. To me, they really kind of dropped the ball there, and people were pissed off and avoided, and apparently the game didn't do extremely well. So we'll have to see how the new one can go. Again, it's on Game Pass. Are they going to load it down with microtransactions and all this kind of stuff? Like, I hope not. I hope that they actually break out with it. I want to see them do something maybe that they've never done before in Halo. So hopefully they can do that. Jay Barry says, I want PS5 and Scarlet to launch on the same date. That would be funny, again, and I've stated this and people were kind of shocked, Jay, was when they say if these consoles are going to launch around the same time, they're going to be almost the same powerful. Maybe one might be a little bit more powerful than the other. They're going to be about the same price. You're not paying less than $500 for these things. Let's just be real. These things are $500 if they're $1. So you're going to have and people are going to have to choose one or the other, because I doubt, unless you're super rich, I doubt you're going to be able to pick up both and just walk out and drop $1,200 on two new consoles, and not to mention games or whatever. And I realize that you can do the Game Pass thing, but for me personally, most people, when they go out and get something new, they buy the games while they're there, and it's this whole big kind of thing. For me, it's PS5 day one. Sony has proven any doubt that I had with them completely wrong, and Scarlet, there's no need for me to get one because Microsoft is still fully supporting the Xbox One, and until they decide to drop support of the older Xboxes and I need to buy a Scarlet specifically for gaming, then I think that I'm good with what I have. You know what I mean? Like, I just bought an Xbox One X in 2017 for $550. I feel like I have nowhere near gotten my money's worth for that. I haven't even turned my Xbox One X on in weeks, and there's no AAA exclusives coming down the pipe for the rest of the generation. So why would I go out and spend another $500-$600 on another console on Microsoft's word that there's going to be new games, unless they decide to show off a ton of new AAA IP and a ton of new AAA games at the reveal of the Scarlet? There is absolutely no need for me to upgrade or even want to upgrade. So yeah, I always hate to kind of pigeonhole myself or anything like that, but yeah, there is not really a need for me to do that, and I'm hoping that that people are smart with how they spend their money. You can't play both these things at the same time anyway, so it doesn't make sense to buy both at exactly the same time. Hey, we are almost up at over 100 likes. Please hit the like button, share it out. I appreciate it. Primitive Meat says, crap, I wonder what kind of trade up, if any, Xbox will offer. GameStop is about dead, so don't see them doing anything. GameStop will definitely offer something. I think possibly upwards of $200 or $250 off if you trade in an X. Maybe more if you trade in a Pro. Who knows? Like, PlayStation goes for more in trade-in than the Xbox Ones do. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that sort of plays out. I hope that they can continue to do some interesting things with some trading things, because look, $500, $600, that's an expensive type situation, and again, it's going to be very interesting. So, Digital Foundry, which I did link this article, was breaking down some of the PlayStation 5 stuff. They broke down Project Scarlet stuff as well. So they're talking about the different things that the PlayStation 5 can do. Sony isn't talking much about the GPU or CPU through the 8 cores and 16 threads, officially confirmed. So in terms of advantages, there's a lot of speed improvements and things like that, so you got to keep that in mind as well. Games are getting bigger, and solid-state storage is a good source. With that in mind, Sony also reveals details of a storage management system that sounds like an evolution of the intelligent delivery system that Microsoft uses on some Xbox titles. The idea being to minimize solid-state drive space by only installing portions of the game you'll actually use. The classic example being the removal of a single-player campaign once finished, while retaining the data required for the multiplayer mode. It's an essential feature, and strongly suspect that kind of expanded storage options we have on current generation machines won't be available on PS5 or Scarlet. External storage is likely not fast enough, nor is the USB standard wide enough in bandwidth terms to match the console's solid-state drive solutions, relegating it back to backup status only. Sony isn't talking about how much solid-state drive space we'll get, but 1 terabyte seems likely, which is akin to today's PS4 Pro or Xbox One X, but having to accommodate games that will be delivered on 100 gig Blu-rays, a doubling of the standard size of this generation. So if you guys didn't know, the PS5 is going to be Ultra Blu-ray player, but the discs themselves are going to be up to 100 gigs, which is kind of double the standard size just on a basic Blu-ray. So they're really kind of going all out with that as well, and I feel like that's going to be something that that is going to pay off for people that are like hardcore into collecting or playing games via that way of delivery. So it's kind of exciting to see that they're finally going on. I know that Microsoft has done some of that stuff already this generation, but I feel like, as typical to Microsoft, they tend to do these things a little bit too early, right? Like, they do these things a little bit too early, and it's unfortunate that it's not at the right time. You know what I mean? So people might like these idea that Xbox are doing, but then they see PlayStation is going to do it on there, and so that's their preferred console, and they go, PlayStation's doing this. So that's why it seems like people who get pissed off and they go, well, Xbox has been doing this forever already. Well, now their console of choice is going to be doing it. So, you can't really blame people for wanting to stick with what they've come to love and where their games and stuff are. I've long said that Xbox picked the worst generation to lose so badly, because we're taking all of our digital games and our hardware, our, PlayStation VR, my controllers. We're taking all this stuff with us into the next generation, and so that means that essentially we're going to be kind of taking that stuff with us, and people aren't going to want to start over. Unlike most generations that I remember, like, people I don't know many people that have less than like 50 or 100 games. Like, just average people, with thanks to a lot of these digital sales and stuff like that, most people have like hundreds of games. So I definitely think, it's going to be a hard sell to get people to drop PlayStation for Xbox. You have 105 million PlayStation owners out there versus 46 million Xbox owners. I think it's going to be a hard sell for a lot of people, and I do see a lot of Xbox fans, unfortunately, like, trading up and going the route of the PC. So we'll have to see that as well. JD Gamer says Xbox One SX already reads up 100 gig discs. I'm not aware that they do the 100 gig disc because games have shipped on 2 discs before on Xbox One, bro. Like I think even Red Dead Redemption. So I'm not sure if that's 100% or not. So I'm not going to really comment on that, but I do know that supposedly what Sony's using is something that we haven't really seen before. So I don't know for sure. Again, it's going to be interesting to see. Nine Live says with crossplay, casuals can go anywhere. Well, here's the thing: it depends on the crossplay. Like, do you mean like say for like a Call of Duty or like or do you mean like a Halo or something like that? Because in my opinion, I don't think gamers are gonna want to play. Like if I'm playing at home on a console, on a big 4K console, playing Gears of War or Halo, I don't want to play against somebody that's using a touch screen on an iPhone or a Android phone, right? Like I don't know if you guys ever saw that. I guess there were some problems with Fortnite. Remember Fortnite when it launched mobile, and those mobile players can play against other mobile players. But I think originally they could even play against console players and PC players. But there was like this viral video that was going around where it was clear that the mobile player couldn't get any accurate shots off with the touchscreen or whatever. So I don't want to get in a situation where my gaming is hampered by being forced to play with people who are like on a mobile device versus my console. I would rather just play console to console, and I think a lot of people are like that as well. Like I don't mind crossplay where if it's a game that's like co-op or if it's a game that's not going to be competitive, but in a lot of games, that's not really the case. So again, it just comes down to my particular preference going forward. Let's see. Steven says, I'm pretty sure the junk box Blu-rays are only 50 gigs. Yeah, I think so too. I don't want to comment 100%. I'll have to look into it. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. Jerry Chastain says Scarlett already said they will have 100 disc Ultra, and that's before PlayStation has released anything. Well, listen, they'll both be doing the same thing then, right? Like you can't really knock one or the other. I think that that's good, and I like the fact that they're both going to have some physical hardware there as well. So people are going to be if they choose to do that, right? Then that's on them. They're completely free to be able to do that, and it's very exciting to see like the future technology and stuff like that. So there's a lot of things here. According to the Digital Foundry thing, like they're kind of saying, hey, you know what, Scarlett could be this or PS5 could be that based on that. So I believe it's going to be very interesting when we actually see the breakdown of these two consoles. But the fact that we have confirmed releases for Xbox Scarlett and PS5 almost around the same time, I think that's incredible. I think that we've probably not seen anything like that before. And again, I'm very interested and kind of it's going to be shocking to see how that plays out for both these companies, like one competing with the other. Like Sony, no doubt, is going to have to bring some really good launch games or at least show off some stuff within that first year that's coming that's going to get people excited. Halo is a name in the industry. It's not as big as it once was, but clearly a lot of people like Halo, and so it's going to be interesting to see if Halo can continue to draw people in and get people excited about Xbox. Obviously, you don't even need a new Xbox to play Halo, so that could be a bit of a problem. People on PC can play it, and how will Microsoft handle the crossplay? I think those are going to be things going forward that people have to take into account as well. Just in general. But I do think that, we used to have this whole thing where T-flops were the way of, so at the beginning of this generation, we had resolution, right? 720p, 900p, 1080p. And then it got to be T-flops, 4.2 T-flops versus 6. Like, T-flops are irrelevant now, and even Digital Foundry is saying that. He says the teraflop war is irrelevant now, as we saw in our apples-to-apples compute face-off, not to mention how key Xbox One X titles have stacked up against PS4 Pro equivalents. Indeed, I wouldn't be surprised to see Mark Cerny double down on the philosophy seen in the Pro, with innovative solutions and smart design just as important as raw shader count, if not more so. As a consequence of this, a smaller processor means a more cost-efficient box, and Sony got the balance just right between performance and build costs with PS4 Pro. So again, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Even if the PS4 or PS5 were a little bit less, it's probably going to be, do just about the same. And if Sony can get a console out that's cheaper, man, I think that really sets them up for quite a lot in the future. You know what I mean? Like, people are tend to be really excited by what these companies are offering, and I do think that could be very, very influential if Sony could actually pull off something like that. Hotman 966 says rumors about Sony using a new media player and that this is the new 100 gig Blu-rays. Yeah, they're using the new 100 gig Blu-rays, which I think is really cool. Red Dead Redemption 2 is 200 gigabytes with PS5 textures. The game would be like 800 gigabytes of size. Yeah, I'm not really sure, but we'll have to see how it works out. Jack E says, I believe Halo Infinite is going to be on 2 100 gigabyte discs. It could be. I don't know. So Nis says, and they won't be worried about Joe GameStop complaining about 100 gig downloads. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Hotman says, power is important. It's just how you use it. Listen, I think power is very important for gaming consoles, right? Like I've always said, I thought that power was very important, but the most important thing in gaming is the actual games themselves, right? Like, what good is having, like, I've complained about this. What good has the Xbox One X done for me when I haven't really been able to get very good use out of it because it's just not something that we've seen taken advantage of from their first party. And I feel like that's where I've been let down the most with Microsoft, is that first party, which has been lackluster. And I know, before you say it, I'm a fearmonger, blah, blah, blah. But the honest truth is that I don't trust Microsoft's first party, even the new people that they have. Like, I can go down the list. Like, I think Halo, Gears, and Forza are going to be fine. I think Fable, I think that'll be fine. I think I'm not interested at all in a new State of Decay or a multiplayer game from Rare again. When it comes to the Initiative, I'm very interested to see what they have. I couldn't care less about In Exile or Wasteland games or Bard's Tale games or whatever the heck they're doing, or Compulsion games. I don't like Compulsion games. Has only come out with 2 games, Contrast and We Happy Few, and both weren't very good. So I have no interest. Double Fine does like these little indie type games. Sometimes they can be fun little arcade games, but again, I'm not super interested in much that they're doing. I would love to see, something big from the Initiative, something big from Obsidian. But Obsidian's so tied up with Outer Worlds right now. When will we actually see something from them? I don't even know when or if we'd see something from them in the next 3 to 5 years. And so that's basically Ninja Theory as well. They're doing Bleeding Edge, which looks like hot garbage to me. I actually gave away a code invite to that beta or alpha or whatever it is, because I have absolutely no interest in playing a multiplayer arena game. I don't care who the developer is, but again, they're working on something else as well, so maybe they could have something that would be surprising. But other than that, man, I just do not like, when I look at Microsoft Studios, and I look at Sony Studios, and Sony's got Naughty Dog, Sony Santa Monica, Sucker Punch, Insomniac Games, Guerrilla Games. They've got all these great studios, like renowned studios, and then Microsoft's top 2 studios are cover bands for franchises that are long past their primes, with the Coalition and Gears and 343 and Halo. And so that right in and of itself is a huge problem if you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, that's just my opinion. Just my opinion anyway. Hit the like button. Maybe we can get up to 150. That would be great. JD Gamer says, imagine these games at launch: Halo Infinite, Fable 4, Rise 2, Cuphead 2, Killer Instinct, Perfect Dark, Cameo, Forza Motorsport 8. The only problem is, JD, is most of that's just wishful thinking. It'd be great, but they're not going to do that. Like, Rise is dead. Halo Infinite is going to be at, look, Microsoft has to be very careful because they have Game Pass to think about. So I would expect Halo Infinite to be their big launch title, and maybe a couple smaller AA or something. But anything else they have, I don't even think Forza Motorsport is launching with that console. I think Forza's not going to come till 2021 sometime. That way they can have a game a few months later in Game Pass for you to play, right? Like, they're not going to go the traditional route where Sony can have, 4 or 5 pretty good different launch titles. I think Microsoft is banking on Halo, and And then they're gonna do the thing where they hope that they can have some games launch after that as well. So I think it's gonna be fun to see how they play off each other. Like, is Sony gonna have a bunch of games to show off? Are they gonna have a All-Star Battle Royale 2? Are they gonna have are they gonna have a new Gran Turismo? Are they gonna announce are they gonna announce something that we haven't heard of? Are they going to announce a Horizon Zero Dawn 2, a God of War 2? Like, what are they going to actually be able to, what are they going to actually be able to do? Like, I think that's something that a lot of people are sort of looking at and saying, hey, what can we actually do? And what type of games will these companies actually have for us? So I do hope that that's something that both Sony and Microsoft nail, because they got to get the games down first and foremost. The secret sauce will be revealed next E3. It's DX13, you guys. DX13 is going to win it all. Hold on. JD Rain says, JD, aren't you tired of all the Imagine talk? Xbox have been doing all generation. I mean, listen, there hasn't been much to hang their hat on, so what can you really say, to be honest with you? Like, imagine what they're going to get, because at the end of the day, it doesn't seem like they haven't had anything. What are the tangibles Xbox fans have been talking about hope since 2013? This is something I brought up, right? Like, it looks like the last new AAA IP announced by Microsoft was 2015, and it started in 2014. So literally a year after the Xbox One release, they stopped creating new AAA IP, which is really sad if you think about it. And people are still on board with this, so that's really weird. Battletoads mobile looking game. Battletoads looks horrible. 9Live says all these PS5 features already on Xbox One X, like 4K, backwards compat, Ultra, Blu-ray, FreeSync, spatial sound, and haptic rumble. Listen, but you know what they don't have on Xbox that PlayStation has? PlayStation games, exclusives. So there's that. Dual Purpose says it's not smart for either company to have 4 or 5 launch titles. Too much competition, space for a small user base. Well, they're likely to be cross-gen titles, dude. So you have to have new games to launch your console. It's always been that way. Okay, you got to have games to launch your console. We lost a great community voice, and Mike, big loss for Xbox's interaction will be missed. This was my point all along, too. If people tried to make it out like I was poking fun or something, I like Mike. I didn't always agree with Mike, but I like Mike, and I think that he was a good guy. So, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, props to him for going out and doing something he wanted. Crap, word is that there are 14 unannounced PlayStation 5 games. I'm not surprised, because I know Guerrilla Games is working on 2. I know that Naughty Dog is working on a new IP as well. Sony Santa Monica is working on the next God of War. I've heard Insomniac's working on a couple of games. Bluepoint is working on a new game as well. So there's a lot of stuff as well. Hotman says, people telling me PS5 hype is non-existent. Well, Marvel hype is about PlayStation 5. Listen, everybody's excited about the PlayStation 5. Everybody. So I think that for people to kind of pass that off, like, Sony delivers great games. People have to realize that. People are smart enough to realize that. So JD Gamer, Rossi the Bossy says, hi, Crap. Hey, what's up? JD says, Obsidian has 3 teams, 2 big teams and a smaller team, 1 big one on Outer Worlds, 1 announced, and a smaller one Pillars of Eternity. If you do a brand new AAA RPG, though, JD, you have to use your head. That's at least 4 years away, at least. Not, in-depth, really good new IP. You're going to need voice acting, the whole 9, and I think that's going to take, I think they said that didn't Outer Worlds take them 5 years to make? That's going to take them some time. So you're talking about 2024 again. That's going to take some time. What's up, Ned Flanders? How you doing? Everybody hit the like button, share it out. Maybe we can get up to 150. I would definitely appreciate that. Sort of making up for yesterday's missed show. Hopefully you guys appreciate that, and thank you guys, everybody, for coming around and just saying hi and supporting the channel and stuff like that. All those features are next gen, but there's no games. Without the games, then I don't know. Hold on. Matthew B says, are more people playing Sea of Thieves today than are playing God of War? I don't know. How could I know that? You know what I mean? Microsoft hasn't announced anything in terms of, like, concurrent people. So it's really hard saying, like, do we have any kind of clear idea of how many people are actually playing that game. I don't know how many people are playing God of War right now. We know that it sold something like 12 or 14 million copies, but at the same time, it's just gonna be fun to see how that works out. Like in the future, what are we gonna get? Like again, and I said this yesterday, and somebody misunderstood me. Microsoft is not making money off of Game Pass right now. Let's say they have 5 million subscribers. How many of those are $1 subscribers? And how many are ones that are paying a full $120 a year? Probably not many. So until they get 100 million people paying that $120 per year, they don't have what people are assuming they have, right? Everybody's like, they're making so much money. But you can do the math on a calculator at 5 million. At 5 million subscribers, even at $120 a year, that's not a lot of money. That's not a lot of money. That's less money than what Sony made off of Spider-Man in a year. Okay, selling 15 million copies of Spider-Man in a year versus having 5 million subscribers. That's the equivalent of selling 10 million copies of one game versus 15 million copies of one. You see what I'm saying? So Microsoft isn't making all that, and that's assuming that everybody's paying full price. Nobody I know is paying full price for Game Pass. I paid $1 for it. You know what I mean? Like, that's it. So yeah, it's just one of those things that Microsoft, they want that 100 million people, right? They want that 100 million people, but will they ever have that? I don't really know. Like even Sony, right? As big as Sony is and as great as their exclusives are, we've seen Sony sort of, they only have 38 million PlayStation Plus subscribers out of over 100 million console owners. Like 38 million, if they can get 38 million PlayStation Now subscribers, I don't even know if that's like super huge amount enough to like sustain constantly putting in these exclusives and stuff like that. So again, it's going to be fun to see how this kind of works out and how these companies can change these things in the future as well. Hold on, not everyone is going to transition to PC through next decade. Well, I'm never going to be a PC gamer. I'm always going to be a console gamer. My hope is that they actually kind of come out with, Game Pass on PlayStation, so I don't have to bother with an Xbox. God of War came to PS Now over a year after launch, not day and date. That's exactly a big point that I've been making for a while as well. People don't understand that, though. You know what I mean? Like, you double dip. You get people to double dip when you do that. And what I mean by that is people buy your games, right? And then you also can sell them other things through, you sell it to people that may be the budget gamer. So everybody gets a piece of it. You know what I mean? So hopefully, that's one of those things that people have to understand when it comes to these particular consoles and stuff. It's really interesting to see how these companies are going to continue to make money and how these companies are going to continue to kind of change things. Yes, times are changing. Yes, we're going to be getting more streaming and things like that, more services, but it's up to us to see how we're going to react to that and how we want to how we want to kind of react to that. So I am personally very interested in seeing how how these things are going to affect this next generation. Obviously, things are changing. I still remember people said that gaming was dead this generation, right? Like console gaming, and they say it's dead next generation. Like, I still think console generation is going to continue to do extremely well for the foreseeable future, because I don't see streaming as like this big viable thing. You know what I mean? So hopefully we continue to see how it works out. Hold on. Jared Chastain says, my point is you will never know the true numbers at all. They will never give them up. And why wouldn't they give up true numbers? They wouldn't give up true numbers because they're not very good, right? If you were like a runaway success, wouldn't you give away your numbers? Wouldn't you let people know, hey, we're successful here? Do you not realize that people's perceived lack of success actually can have a negative effect on your sales and your numbers as a bottom line? So that's going to be a big problem for Microsoft going forward. Listen, if it's true that Microsoft has sold 46 million Xbox Ones, That's not terrible. A lot of people assume that it was 30 million, 31 million, 32 million, or whatever. Personally, I thought it was like 41, 42 million. I like to poke fun and say 28 or 15 or whatever, just jokingly. But I honestly thought it was 41, 42 million. And if it's 46, 47 million, that's at least respectable with everything that's happened. So why wouldn't you tell people that number? Right? Like, it never made any sense to me. People literally think that there's no install base on the Xbox One. Like, nobody has one. There's nobody to play against if you get an Xbox. Like, these would help people feel better about their purchases, and they don't really care. It's very sad to see that. JD Gamer says not selling day and date is better for retail and console sales, but makes no difference to an actual gamer. Actually, it does. Like, listen. How many sales did Microsoft lose out on with Gears of War 5 by giving it away for $1? Like that, like, it's pretty clear that them giving it away for $1 has hampered the sales of the game. Like, is that game going to even be in the NPD for September? I mean, we're going to know very soon. Supposedly, it's the lowest selling Gears of War, even lesser than Gears of War Judgment. So clearly, it affects sales. You know. Like, I didn't buy it. I got a review copy, but I was just going to get it on Game Pass. Most people I know were just going to get it on Game Pass. So I think it's kind of disingenuous to just assume that, everybody's just going to do one way or the other. So I think it's very telling that Microsoft is hiding more and more of their numbers, how this kind of works out for them. They didn't say it because Sony fanboys would spin it like you guys always do. Listen, I'm not a Sony fanboy. I'm just, a gamer. Like, how is there to spin it? You come out there, you say the number, and you have people, what's up, David Elliott? And you say people, and you have people just like, it's either going to be one way or the other. I don't really see any spin one way or the other with those numbers. Matthew B says, hypothetically, if salesmen in future were selling services, would customers buy day and date service or delayed services the future sales will service? Listen, The Last of Us Part 2 broke all Sony records for pre-orders, right? Now, again, this is something that, that's going to continue to happen. Like, why would Sony want to give up selling 15, 20 million copies of this game by putting it in their service for $10 a month, right? Like, people would just sign up for a month and then unsubscribe. That's losing you money. You might have a bump in subscribers for a month, but it's not going to last long term, and certainly it's not very sustainable because these games are costing more and more money to make. So Halo, for instance, supposedly has a budget of $500 million. They're going to be running all these $1 deals, and they're going to try to get as many people subscribed to play Halo as possible. So that, again, are they really going to make anything off that? And then they're going to need a game right after that that's big budget, and another one, and another one, and another one. So, again, like, how many people are going to stay subscribed for the long term? Hotman says Gears 5 hype died the moment the game was released. I don't even recall that there was any hype for Gears 5. Again, my game was broken and glitched out, so I never even went back and finished it. So, yeah, I agree 100%. It's already out of the top 10, I believe, on Xbox dashboard played games. So the fact that this game released a month ago and is already out of the top 10 goes to show you that most people have given up on that franchise. What's up, Luca? Thank you for stopping by. JD Gamer says, you're right about Gears 5, but if Microsoft gained lots of subscriptions, then they'll win out in the end. But did they gain full price subscriptions? Did they gain $15 a month subscribers? Or did they gain people that subscribe for the buck and then they'll unsubscribe? Listen, the reason why Microsoft changed their metrics when they did, because they have to do earnings report this month. The reason why they changed their metrics from users and subscribers and all this kind of stuff is because they have a 14-month gap between AAA exclusives. So they knew, just like when Game of Thrones ended, right? How many people canceled their HBO subscription? Okay? This is what Microsoft is dealing with now. People gave up what they were doing, right? They buy into it to play Gears. They play it. They're done. There's nothing coming for 14 months. Believe it or not, most people aren't interested in Flight Simulator or Battletoads or Bleeding Edge. Those aren't AAA exclusives, right? So they cancel their subscription. So those numbers are going to drop down significantly over the next 14 months. That's when Microsoft has another AAA exclusive coming out. So people are smart enough to realize this, right? And Microsoft knows this, and they can't report this to their investors because it looks bad, because they have this whole idea of the Netflix of gaming. Will it work out for them? I don't know. But the biggest difference between Microsoft and Sony is the fact that Microsoft is software and service. They're like a services company. And then when you look at Sony, they're always been a hardware company. So you have to keep that in mind. And, hopefully you guys do understand that it's like a completely different story between the two. And, Microsoft, they definitely, they can do some things. It's just going to come down to what are they going to be able to accomplish long term with their goals the way that they have them. Hopefully they can do something special next generation, but they need to get some games, some quality content up there, because this ain't it so far. If the PlayStation 5 does turn out to be more powerful, and and Sony announces a bunch of games, even if they don't all launch at the same time at the PS5, as long as they announce them and they're coming soon and people see that, people are going to be excited about the PlayStation 5 because Sony delivers. If Microsoft has a weaker console, or they don't announce a bunch of games to go with it, then people are going to be very wary of that. So Hotman 966 says, right now with Game Pass costing $1, people already play the games they want, and they're done. They cancel their subscription. What I did was, because I had Xbox Live Gold through 2022, was I just paid $1 to upgrade for the entirety of my gold subscription. So that's a huge difference for me as well, seeing how that kind of turned out or whatever. But again, I think Microsoft needs to constantly pump in these games, and if they can do that, they'll be fine. But again, it's almost like a fool's errand at this point to think that they're going to be able to continue to do the AAA quality games that people want for an extended period of time. And I'm hoping that they can do it, but we'll have to see how that ends up. JD says the fact is that 90% of people that subscribe to something stay subscribed for more than a year. That's just statistical fact. So even if 10% unsubscribe, they're good. Well, listen, many people could have just did what I did and just paid $1 and upgraded for the remainder of their life. Most people have a year or two on their live accounts, and they could have so they literally paid $1 to say subscribe for 2 years, right? I don't think that really helps Microsoft, other than, hey, they're still in our ecosystem, but it's not enough for me to want to do that anyway. You know what I mean? Like, for me personally, I just want to be able to sort of play my games and stuff like that. And hopefully they can get something worked out in time for next gen anyway. So oh, I got a little bit of feedback right there. Hey, what's up, everybody? If you're just joining me, please hit the like button. Almost 150 likes. I'd love to soar over that and get people, something to talk about. I did this impromptu podcast, but I'm going to bring it to a close here in a minute. So if you guys could share it out